Super. Hey, お願いします。
お願いします。
Okay, good. Pretty stop. And a little bit of a bounce. Settle down, settle down. Front and back. And coming to the center, taking it side to side. Okay, to get to rotation. Good. And take it to the center, looking for a plate in the spine. And shoulders pass any direction. Great. Okay, take a nice deep breath in. And then hinging down. Long breath out. And curling all the way up. Great, just one last time. Coming up, just looking into the head, reaching up and down. Got lengthening the neck, the front, lengthening down the back. And take it left and right. It's a shoulder. A little bit of weight from the hand. Lengthening down the opposite shoulder, hand. It feels comfortable just looking up towards the ceiling. Lift the stretch a little bit. Slowly release it. Take it to the side. And if it feels fine, just looking towards the ceiling a little bit. Great. Taking the hands onto the back of the head. Just think about creating a bit of length through the spine first. Add a little bit of pressure back with the head. A little bit of pressure forward with the hands. Take a nice deep breath in. And you're releasing it, curling forward. Release the breath out. Closing the body in to the front. Open up at the top. Nice deep breath in. Think about all those things got length through the spine. A little bit of pressure, and then just think about the elbows gently spreading back. Nice deep breath in and release it. And squeezing the elbows together, opening the shoulders around the back. Open up the top. And just find the length, a little bit of pressure. Elbows pulling back gently, and then just think about adding a little bit of a back bend. Nice deep breath in. And releasing it. And the body up. Add a little bit of a forward bend. Drawing the elbows together, widening the shoulders. Then just stay in that slightly hinged position. Find the length again through the spine. Find the elbows, and just play with it, just raising up through that position. So hinging down with the hips, hinging back up. Just nice, controlled. Keep the breath full all the time. Get that length through the spine. Truly, the only thing that's moving is the hip. Knees releasing a little bit. Weight just falling into the feet. And then just hold in the downward hinge. Again, just keep the length in the body. And then just play with rotating through the elbow. So taking one elbow up, one elbow down, and just pulling back to the center each time. Find the length. Rotate one side. Rotate back. Just nice and controlled in and out. Keep the breath nice and full as you do it. And just notice the action in the hip now as you do it. So there's a kind of asymmetry of the hip. Holding one side, releasing the other. Good. And then just pulling back up to the top. Release the arms down. Roll out the shoulders a little bit. Just start with this one just with a kind of loose fist, and just re-rolling the circles front and back through the shoulder. And staying close to the body. And shifting forwards. A little bit of a straight arm, a little bit of a fist. And then just reversing it again. Just up to now, open the chest and the elbows up, away from the body. And changing, going forwards, close in the shoulder and the chest at the front. And then just alternating, shoulder up. Rolling the shoulder forwards, alternating. Yeah, taking them across the side, a bit of a shoulder tap. And just gently taking the elbow, just drawing it across. A little bit of rotation with the body, and then release it nice and slowly. Shift to the other arm, so gently drawing out and back, and just shifting each time, alternating each time. Good. And then taking the wrist up at the top, again, just gently pulling. With this one, just feel a little bit like this arm is kind of hanging down through the foot. And again, just think about lengthening, lengthening, lengthening. And then slowly release it. And shift to the other wrist. Take a nice grip and then feel the weight through this arm. And just gently taking it over. And switching. And next one. Great, making it like this, taking it to the Elbows rotating out to the back. And just creating an elastic release through the fist. And shaking the hands out. Hold in a couple of seconds at the back. Find full extension, reach out. Hold into the feet. Release, take it to the side. Just alternate. Each side. Good. Great. And just looking into the hips. Nice big circles. And change. Taking the legs a little bit wider, just rocking into the legs, to the back side of the leg, and the hip releasing. Just take it one side. Just think about the back heel. Just a little bit lengthening through it. A bit of a bend in the front knee. Just think about a sort of bounce. Down. And then coming back, just sit into the hips a little bit, sit into the legs. And just a very subtle bounce. Switch to the other side. Just find a similar position. And just a little bit of a bounce. Feel the hips are free to raise up and down. Knees are released. Shifting back to the front. Shift down a little bit and get into the hips. Pressing the hands onto the knees. Just going to length through the torso. So if you're kind of pulling the ears away from the shoulders, and then just start to rotate towards the opposite shoulder. Pull back to center each time. And a nice alternative from this comes from the foundation trick. Think about the opposite hand now pressing the knee. And it's going to be like the fingers up this way. And the pressure is basically that way into the leg as the leg's gently kind of pressing in. The other hand, just place it somewhere near the chest, that they've got the thumb just below the throat. Think about the fingers just reaching to the shoulder. And then think about pressing this leg away as you look to the opposite direction. So you're looking the opposite way to the press. But the knee. Lengthening through, and just play here just with subtly shifting the hip, a little bit back, a little bit back, and at the same time keeping that pressure in the knee. Just called a surface squat, so it's over here. Very similar position to the step forward, hips want to stay mobile, knees released. And in this case, just release and change the side. So you press the knee away, fingers up, find the chest, find the center line, and then you're pressing the leg away, looking towards the opposite direction. And once you're kind of settled into it, just play with the hips, being able to mobilize, gently back, feel the knees release, feet stay strong. The body stays long, full. And just release it. So come down to the ankles with both hands and just lengthen through the legs. Gently pulling the knees back. It feels more comfortable, or feels comfortable to take the legs a little bit wider. Lengthen a little bit more the legs, and then just start to draw the head towards the ground. Doesn't have to touch, just lengthening the spine down. And then just take the hands out, just reach them back. Don't have to go far, but just reach them back between the two legs. You've got a lengthened arm, fingers pointing away from you. And just apply a little bit of pressure into the hands, so a little bit of a press, as if you're going to transition your weight into the hands without shifting it. And then release it. Walk the hands forward. And just until you're in the fingertips, basically. So find the fingertips and then just think about lengthening the hips back again. Gently pulling the hips up. Pressing into the ground with the fingertips. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then just find a position where you can press the hand into the ground with the palm. And then again, just think about applying pressure with the hand, not really shifting the weight, just the feeling that you could start to shift pressure into the hands. Good. And then just shift the weight into them. Shift the weight. Bring the feet together at the back. And just loosen out the legs, pressing the heels down, alternating. And then just play here with bending the knees subtly and then extending them back, bending them, extending them back. All the time keeping pressure in the hands. And the last one, just hold it, draw the hips up, press into the hands. Nice deep breath. And walking the hands back to the feet. And just lengthening forward, let the upper body relax. Head relax, neck, face, shoulders. Great. And nice and slow, coming up to standing. Okay. Good. But we'll look at the other swing that we've not really done this week, which is you've got the vertical one we've done, and we've done the arm swing. We'll look at the one that goes with the rotation, but we'll just start with this one, which is it's just the one that you come out to the side and just let the arms basically fold in front of the body. So often this one's described like a bird flap, which is a really nice image to work with. Think about this whole area being really full. And this is the fingers, the wrist being very light and very mobile. And a subtle weight shift down as you lower the arms so the feet fill a little bit. Great, good, keep going, good. Yeah. So in a way, the difficult part of this movement is the bit where you raise the arms up. So the real tendency in this one is to basically hold the shoulder at the top, something like this, and then release it. And then the release is good because I've got basically tension and I release it. But think in the other sense, which is the other image that's nice, which is like there's a really high table kind of here in the forearm, and I'm just allowing the arm to kind of settle onto it. So the feelings that the arm can then actually rest into it. So if you imagine like a really high pillar or table or something, as you come, so just sometimes every so often, just give yourself a couple of seconds, 3, 4, 5 maybe, and then release. And the feelings, there's no real difference in the release between the arm being here and then into the release. But if I feel a big difference between like that's tense and then this is release, what I want to do is kind of narrow or bring the feeling together that as I am holding the arm up, obviously, the feelings that it's still releasing into the back. So just play with it. And you can also do this also with one arm. It's a really nice one to do. Just so I can really concentrate all the feeling on one arm. And it's the release doesn't tend to be the problem, but it's actually the holding position in the side of the body. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, good. So one nice alternative to this, we tend to be quite good at, if you point, we tend to be quite good at keeping the wrist flexible, right? So when you point, we tend to do like this, right? Or this, right? So just play with a point, but just play with like this feeling as you do it. So there's a sense of length down the joint, down the finger, but that sense of the wrist is still able to mobilize. Right? So in the moment I feel that the shoulder is basically locking and it passes up into the finger. And I want to basically try and really work on some kind of release in that position. But a really tricky move, very simple move, but very, very tricky actually. That's Okay. Now again, just play with the finger, play with one arm in this case, and you're gonna follow with the body. So the pointing is a good one because you basically naturally follow it. So follow it out and then just let it come back to the shoulder. Follow it out, let it come back to the shoulder. So we won't do the opposite side at the moment yet, but just focus on basically the whole body basically going with it. So it's going to come out, and again, trying to keep that flexibility in the joint as you point out. And again, give yourself every so often a couple of seconds in that pointing position. I feel at any point you want to also just play with the hand being open. You can also do this with a closed fist. Whatever. The one that's going to really help is just having the hand open, just to release the joint. But yeah, just focusing now on just following with the spine. Following with the spine. And every so often just switch the hand. But again, just Yep. Okay, don't know what happened there. Good, and then play with the backside of the movement. Again, just the one side, but focus now. You've got two movements. You've got this finding the shoulder, and then this releasing to the hip. So again, the kind of tricky part of this movement is that one to the back. So following, and then changing. So there's going to be an extra movement now in the point, which just goes there. And a nice exercise for this is also kind of, in a sense, lose the pointing part of it, or lose the reaching out, and just allow the elbow to be flexible. So the joint, the real focus of the joint, obviously now is the shoulder. That, and really noticing again, if I carry the arm in any way, it's going to really block it. So just let the arm go. And then when you feel you kind of got that loose shoulder, bring back the kind of the reaching out, the extension on both parts of the movement. And again, you just find the head, the spine, everything just to follow. Yeah, that's it. Good. Great. That's it. And then just bring them both in, just for the start, just play with, like, again, just coming to the side with the hands. Find really the center line with the arm now, so you're doing something in a sense that's different now, that you're spreading out as you go. And then think about choosing a side, coming out, choosing a side. And then just look for that feeling in the body, in the arms, that they're just being held up, not being pulled up by the body. So the feeling of release, again, in the shoulder. Just notice that there's like a big change. I go now this into tension and then release. See if you can basically keep the joint all the time free, heavy. It's kind of useful in this case just to kind of spot two spots on the wall. Just use them to take the head to, take the head to, take the head to. And once you kind of get into this, just play with it being a little bit more flexible in terms of this. And yeah, the other thing to play with is not always coming out to full extension and just playing with the elbows. Just being able to release, release, release. And then if something, open it back up. Okay, and then the next one's the really silly one, which is like a ragdoll kind of movement. The main one with this is you're not doing a lot of movement. So the last one's really great one because it's a ton of movement for the body. The one you want to do now is feel the hands at the side of the body, and then you're just gonna raise it to the shoulder. So you're just gonna kind of tap the shoulder. You're gonna do that part of the movement, but play with really being. I like this movement because it's really lazy. So I have to be really, really lazy to do this exercise. But just think I'm going to do it in the laziest possible way, which means it means two things. It means not doing something like this, and it means not doing this, like with all this energy to kind of pick the arm up. So just play with one which is like totally free, and then just, yeah, it feels really stupid, but it's a really great one. And just play with alternates and do a few on each side. But really, it's the laziest, or the other way, if that's most efficient, but just be really, and I want to use this kind of a little energy as possible to do it. And the feeling this is really like you've got pins and needles in the arm. It's totally dead, and I don't want to create any kind of muscular feeling because it's really going to sting the arm. So what I think about is really like it's just there at the side of the body. It's just there, and then just do it. There we go. Easy. Yeah, the feedback again for this one is like, my image for this is like being on a sofa or an armchair, really comfortable, and then your phone rings or you need to reach the remote or something like this, but you don't really want to move and you don't want to do this. You want to do like this. So I want to be like totally amazing, but like sink more into the sofa and see if that reaching down can actually, I can extend out a little bit more. But the feedback on this one is like, as I do this, I want to feel the feet are really like boom. So though it's a very lazy exercise in the case of the arm, what I want to feel is like, yeah, the whole body just goes into the ground. So the feedback is actually on, in this exercise, yes, in the arm, and on that kind of feeling, but also just listen to the feet as you do it. The main one I want to watch something like this creates another tension and then the body settles back down. So, and it's actually really the point of the exercise is that really much easier if I just settle into the ground more. So the more I can align into the ground, the more I can drop the weight in and just let it settle. And that exercise becomes really easy. There we go. And then the last one to get out of, it's still a lazy exercise, but we're going to do a little bit more with it now. So think about that same feeling, but now you're going to not reach the shoulder, you're going to reach up and then you're going to roll it down. Yeah, so a little bit we were doing yesterday with the tando and going back to that exercise, but just play with the angle. Obviously, you can also do this out to the side. Now play with one again where the head, if you do go to the side, think about the whole body kind of following it. Yeah, so you're not in a sense going to do this, you're going to do something like this. Yeah, so wherever the hand goes, just think about, if you think about the center line, basically following through, and it's going to pass through the center line, but keep the hand basically in view all the time. But work especially now with a kind of side, with a sideways range of the arm. But think about now a sense of really like extending out rather than coming back to the body onto the shoulder. Think about movements which are reaching away from the body. And again, the more I can sit into the ground, the more I can release the structure through an aligned body, the easier this is going to be in terms of making it efficient. Yeah, good. Good. Okay, great. Grab a tando. We'll do a little bit more mindfulness. So, let's see. So yesterday we did just kind of three basic movements in the sense of the thrust, the slice, and then this one. We'll just look at a few different directions in this case. So just find the kind of basic classic grip, blade basically facing down and out. And just think about working the side direction. So think about this slice. Yeah, and again, just to let the whole spine follow it. So just start the kind of loose movement. But then the key thing in this case, again, is the arm's not going to kind of carry itself over. Just think about finding the ground, hip rolls. Now there's just that point, think about where you change the blade, where you change the orientation of it. Think also that's coming from the hip. So it's very easy in a sense to do that, and then pull it across that, pull it across. But think about this change in the hip is actually going to roll the knife over. Just looking for a basic horizontal path. But basically the tip of the knife, the blade's useful all the time in the movement. That's very nice. And just every so often just switch hands. Same idea. And just notice there's a difference in terms of connection. So we'll bring in now one of the movements we did yesterday, coming from this position again. Think about the raise up now, raise up and then slash down. And then it's going to be in the opposite side. So think about drawing the hip across. So yesterday we did this with a kind of switch. Just think about now, you slash down and then you open up to the side. And again, just allows us to follow with the hip. So three moves in this case. So raise, draw down, and then slash out. And then coming back to center. Raise, slash down, slash out. And just listen to the shoulder all the time. Trying to feel, and that movement's very efficient. And all the time this feeling of getting set into the ground. Not allowing the activity in the arm to pull you out. No, that's nice. And every so often, changing the hand. Very good. Now play with the opposite way. So you're going to start in the same way. The same hand's got it. Come up to the top rather than now arcing the tanto this way. Think about arcing it this way. It's going to go back to the hips. It comes across that way, and then think about the slice coming across this way now. So it's going to raise up, come down, back the same side, and then slice across. So you've got a up, vertical, diagonal down, and then coming across to the opposite side. A little bit trickier movement for the hip. And for the shoulders to follow. The key thing with this is all those changes in the blade are going to come from the hip, basically. So feel that creating our connection from the tip of the weapon to the hip, or from the hip to the tip. Nice, very nice. Yeah. Now just play with mixing these in, so you've got really 4 movements you can play with. You can do them basically in order, you can do them in a kind of in any kind of order, but think about now you've got this one slicing down, you've got this one slicing across, you've got this one slicing back across, and then this slice. So you've basically got these four angles. You've got 2 diagonals coming down, and you've got the 2 horizontals this way. So it's just basically playing with different patterns. And again, all the activities trying to get back into the feeling that the hip drives the tip of the weapon. Just play with it, sometimes just going to the slice, sometimes just going to the diagonal down, sometimes mixing them in. So there's lots of combinations you can play with this, just with these 4. Just explore them. That's nice. So we'll look at some slightly more difficult ones. So think about blade down now, pointing down, psycho killer grab. We'll go back to the slicing across. Really nice one now for in the sense of mobility. the blade's going to be hit. Think about this slice across, which it feels very natural, and then this one, which is opening out. So this one coming in. So the key again all the time is that the blade's basically following the hip, and then as you change, opens it out. So just play with it in the sense of the grip. The kind of backstroke in the sense is going to be the tricky one, because it really feels like everything's going to disconnect as you do it. But as long as the hip is staying in control and not the arm taking over, it's possible. And yeah, just go back to this idea that what tends to happen now is something like this, the body gets split up. So think about the head and the spine basically following with the tip. So allow the feet to just shift a little bit, but the key in this case is the sense that you can keep the body stable and you're not kind of splitting the body up. That's it. That's it. Nice. And then we'll look at what was the slash before in terms of coming up and looking at these diagonals. Now is really a stabbing movement, obviously, because you've got the blade basically down. But the first one, just think about the top position here, and then think about this kind of coming out this way. So it's like a classic 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘦𝘥 would come into this kind of work and basically driving the knife down into the jugular, basically. But think about this coming up, this position, the hands in the center line, and then again think about just arcing it away. This is a really difficult one in the sense of if I'm looking at the idea of like not holding the arm up, this is a really easy one to hold the arm up as I do it. So think about as you do this, trying to again create a sense of release through the arm where it can roll back into the body, and then just trying to keep it. So you don't actually need it. You really don't need a lot of pressure, especially if you've got a blade to make this a functional movement. But what you do need is alignment down, and that if I go into these kind of positions, everything's going to start to raise. Think about just driving down with weight. So you come up to the center and just drive it out and down. And again, it's just always pulling back to this idea of the hip. Whatever changes in the blade are happening are really coming from the hip. And then just play every so often, really just coming back to a neutral position. And then really the other part of this movement, which is important, is the raise. Raising up and then coming into raising up, coming into the step. Jack. Yeah. Yeah, good. And then, yeah, the kind of awkward one of the two is the opposite angle now. So if you think about, we've done that angle, think about now that angle, which is going to kind of raise up and then arc away this way. Okay, so not the most common one, but actually one that's very surprising in terms of knife work. This coming across the body. It's similar to the move we did yesterday. In that case, it was more of a this position. Think that you're now basically driving it down this way. So rather than going for this one, you're going for this one. You'll come in and go away. And away. And very easy now for the body to split, to lose the connection. And then yeah, just play with mixing these 4 attacks. So you've got 2 slices, one opening out, one closing down, and then you've got 2 stabbing motions coming down one side, coming up the other. So it's just a case of mixing them in. Really nice to mix the slashes in, have the slash in with the stab. Slash, slash, thrust, slash, thrust. Very good. Okay, good. And then we'll just play with one exercise. It's just kind of mixing them in. The first setup for this is it's just kind of passing the knife around the body. So play with the, as you pass it through, pass it around the back, pass it to the sides, switch it, and play also with switching the blade as well. So you're switching from basically that grip also to that grip. Yeah, so just play with, work with these two orientations of the blade that we've done, which is basically blade down and then blade, the point down basically. Blade out, the kind of natural grip in a sense. It's a bit unnatural, taking the back. Just play with passing it around. Feel again the shoulders free to just move. And it's just great to feel, especially as the tanto's in the back, just knowing which way up it is. The best way to do this is with a real knife, just to sharpen the transition a little bit. But just try and get a sense for all the time, especially when you can't see the knife, which way the blade is up, which way is up, which way is up, which way is down, which way the blade is. And then as you're doing it just every so often, when you feel like it, just go into a set and then pass it back. Pass it to the hand, around, roll through the blade. And then just a nice short set, can be 1, can be 2, a little bit longer set. Now do the same thing, last few minutes, move around the room with it. So the idea I've got with this in a sense that somebody's in the room and I'm trying to conceal the knife from them while I'm doing these motions. So when I'm doing this motion from before, or this kind of pass, when I'm thinking about someone in the room, I'm just trying to transition it. So I can do this change, but also I can do the change to the front, but it will be facing away from them. But I can do it in the sense that I can conceal the knife from them. So you can use an object in the room, which is easy, in the sense that I'm kind of working around it. Yeah, I'm just trying to conceal it, and you're concealing it basically with the body. You think about handling all this kind of stuff we do all the time. And again, you'll just want, as you do that, just notice, you can just have really a feeling for where the blade is. And the other one you can do is just have an imaginary person, and then moving as well. And you're trying to move, conceal, shift the blade, and really settle it. And then again, just start to work with every so often, just going into a set of attacks. And you notice the transition now should be very smooth. Now where it builds up, just go into it and come out of it. Okay, and then last one, just finding again shoulder width, or just release. Just play in this case just with the fingertips up. Definitely done this with the real. Oh, you could do it with real. Be really careful if you did it, but just play with the fingertips now. So play with all of them, just kind of passing it around. You can touch the blade, but obviously be aware of it, and just kind of pass it around again. So just passing it around, pass it around the back. But again, just being aware of the, especially the blade edge in this exercise. And just playing with the fingers, play with different fingers, kind of taking. You can use all the fingers. Yeah, that's sweet. And in the last 10 seconds, just close your eyes with it. So just feel, shut the eyes, just pass it around. Great. Okay, look, we will stop right there. Okay. Great. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Okie dokie, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very much, and see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, see you
Thank you,
tomorrow.